Your undercover job is a real job. So for 8 hours a day, you're lost doing the thing that you're supposed to be in Paris, France doing. So if you're in France because you're supposed to be selling hardwood floor, you got to do that for 8 hours a day. You got to look, feel, smell like a hardwood floor salesman.
Got to keep your cover.
Right? That's what you have to do. Every chance you get, you're trying to use that as a segue to get into something, right? What can I use my salesmanship for? Salesmen's associations, local chambers of commerce, partnerships with larger flooring companies, partnership with contractors. Maybe I want to talk to the contractors who are working on government buildings, and I'll use my cover to say, hey, you ever think about having hardwood floors in those government buildings? I can cut you a good deal. Whatever it is, you're trying to use your cover to help you get to the end objective. After that 8-hour day, then your real clock starts. Now you're out going to, it's a ton, dude. And then after, if you're successful, you get a call with a government contractor during your regular workday. And then after your regular workday, you go do happy hour at a salesman association and you connect with somebody else that's of interest or whatever, right? So now you got 2 or 3 people that are in your sphere of interest and you're working against that clock. So you have to go back after your happy hour, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. You go back and get on your secret communication system, wherever that is, and you start writing up the reports. Here's who I met. Here's what they do. Here's where I think they're of interest. And that's what buys you the time to go through the next 2, 3, 7, however many weeks of cultivating those existing contacts.
And you have obviously home base of that helping evaluate, what is worth it or where they can find loose ties to someone you just found.
Correct.
I mean, the one thing about the needle in the haystack concept, I would say in even like, let's say the post 9/11 world where we've had legit technology, like crazy computer systems and stuff like that, is that there's so much available data, little trinkets that any government can pick up on anyone, anywhere, just through like backdoors to private organizations and stuff like that, that the data repository and connecting the dots on the smallest things, all it does really take today versus, let's say, a spy 50 years ago is the smallest little flick of a rock in the water. And as long as you feel like that pebble's got enough to bounce a couple more times, you put that into your system, you have your people run it, you can find that, oh, their cousin's friend's dog's neighbor, whatever, knows this dude, so you can head to this guy's house tomorrow and maybe you'll have an excuse to actually be there and then end up at the final. You know what I mean?
I do. So,
convoluted way of looking at it. But.
Yeah, well, it's also, it's another misnomer that people think that technology is a net benefit to intelligence. In fact, technology is a net disadvantage.
How so?
Because let's say you 7 billion people in the world, right? So when you look at it and you say there's 7 billion people in the world, that's 7 billion potential intelligence targets.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if we look at the technology of that and we look at, well, of those 7 billion people, they all have a cell phone. Let's just assume they all have a cell phone. Mm-hmm. If they have a cell phone, they have a social media profile, they have a contacts list, whatever else. If you look at them now as needles and haystacks, 7 billion needles or haystacks or whatever, 7 billion pieces of hay, somewhere in there is a needle. Now that we look at their cell phones, every cell phone is another 7,000 pieces of hay. So now you've got 7 billion people, each with their own 7,000 pieces of hay. Now your hay pile just expanded significantly.
But you also have correlation now too.
You only have correlation if you have the technology that can correlate across all the different operating systems, all the different metadata styles, all the different data types. If you can have access to all the servers, it becomes much, much more difficult. And you have to have the algorithm that automates it. Otherwise, you have a literal human being who's searching through all the data to try to make the connections. The reason I say it is because technology, as a starting point, technology is not an advantage in intelligence. As a tool, after you have a target in mind, that's where you start to increase its utility. So you have to meet the person first, which is what your example was a good example. I meet so-and-so, and then I take it back. And I'm like, hey guys, I met so-and-so.
And that's actually, now I understand. That's fair. Like, you met someone. Point is, you can like meet someone that might just, the smallest little thing. Like it might, they may be the nobody.
Right.
But they live there.
Right.
They know someone. So now, hi, I'm Andy, Andres, whatever. Suddenly, like, you talk for 15 minutes, got one.
Yeah.
Now I have my starting point, and here's where the technology comes in, because now it's like, well, you can run data points on likes the color green, also listens to Rihanna music, and, you know, happen to live in 2 places like this, and this, right? It's not, it allows you to then suck up all the needles with a magnet.
You can try. Yeah, it's a fair assumption, but there's plenty of people who. So, for example, we were just talking about how everybody is probably 2 or 3 steps removed from a real life intelligence officer, like a real covert officer.
I'd say they're all 1 step in a way.
So let's say they're all 1 step away. By finding one person, you don't find that intelligence officer. The magnet doesn't suck up all those needles.
Agreed.
You have to do quite a bit of digging.
Yes.
Right? So what we actually dig for in the intelligence world is we dig for mistakes. We assume that people who are trying to stay hidden, there's a recipe for how you don't get discovered. So we look for derivations from that recipe. The way that most people live, they want to be discovered. Most people live a very like out and out life. They take the exact same route to the grocery store, the same grocery store, on the same day of the week or the same time of the day. They go to the same school. They
Habits.
watch the same shows. Exactly. It's called pattern of life, POL. Yeah. Most people have a pattern to their life. It doesn't matter if they're in like Nigeria or if they're in Switzerland. It doesn't matter what their age, what their nationality, or what their income bracket is. People build a pattern of life. But professional intelligence officers don't. They break the pattern, because breaking the pattern is what allows them to see if somebody's trying to observe their pattern.
Or what if they're reverse psychology trying to do the opposite?
They can try to see. The problem is it's easier to hide inside of someone's pattern of life than it is to hide if someone breaks their pattern of life. For example, to use your, right? If you're the intelligence officer and I'm trying to watch you every day to and from your favorite grocery store, there's lots of different ways I can watch you every day. But the easiest way is to just set up 2 cameras, a camera that watches you leave the house and then a camera that watches you go into the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
How are you ever going to stay inside your pattern of life and find those cameras? Right? Those cameras might be hidden in a tree. They might be on a bank somewhere. They might be hijacked. They might have been purchased. Like we may have bought an agreement with the local police force to have the camera that watches the grocery store.
But I'm saying, couldn't a spy on the other end try to do that and give away, basically set up false flags to give away? That's what I'm saying. Like, you know what?
To make them look like they're every day.
Spies wouldn't go to the same grocery store every day. I'm going to go to the same fucking grocery store every day. I'm going to let that. I won't even wave to the camera. We're not gonna flaunt it because we don't want them to know. But I know there's a camera somewhere. It's there.
So
whatever.
What ends up happening is that they are creating a pattern of life in their grocery store habit that does not fit their pattern of life in collecting intelligence. So that's the mistake that we're looking for.
Say that again.
Yeah. The average person creates a pattern of life in their entire life. When they watch TV, what night they go out, maybe they even have lasagna night once a week, right? They have a very rigid pattern. And periodically they'll break the pattern, or they might move into a new phase of the pattern. 6 months of lasagna night, I'm tired of lasagna night. 6 months of rotisserie chicken night, whatever. But it's holistic with their entire life.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. Please hit that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.